Not everything painful is toxic, but some patterns are. Today, we learn how to recognize them clearly without losing ourselves. Now, this is going to be one of those strong, mature, spiritual work type healing tarot readings because real healing isn't about blaming others or calling everything quote unquote toxic. This is about clarity, taking ownership, and setting your boundaries, being grounded, being honest, empowering yourself, no fear based labeling. Okay. Welcome back, Divine Collective, full of beautiful souls. We're back here at Oracle Rose Healing Tarot. I had to come back and re-record this video because I uploaded it, and it was such a great message that I just said, you know what, I'll do the read again. But we're back because you know what? When you become healing and you participate in your own rescue, you get great rewards. Now, here we're going to ask the Most High and our spirit guides and our ancestors for guidance and the messages for healing and expansion. But this reading came about due to a situation where I finally had to tell myself the truth about my toxic ways, how they attract toxic events, people, and situations in my life. And I was sick and tired of being sick and tired of this pattern. I swear I was. So I went within, and when I came out, so did this reading. Okay. So I'm glad you guys are back with me today here at Oracle Rose Healing Tarot. Checked out my mic. My mic sounds nice. Check one. We got it. You know what I'm saying? So I'm here to talk to you, okay? So while I want to say I'm glad you're here back with me, checking for me. I'm trying to grow my channel because I'm being urged by spirit to do so. I've been having some lag time in between. I just came back from a toxic situation that I handled. So now I got some help. I'm like the big sis out here, big sis Rose, who's going to help you out. So please like this video and comment where you are listening from. Thank you. And the likes and the comments help grow my channel. So let's get the healing messages out to the collective. And please and thank you. Okay, I appreciate that. So I hope everyone is doing well because we're going to go ahead and before we get started, you already know I got to pray. So we're going to give thanks. Okay, so I got my sound bowl. Watch your ears. All right. I give thanks to the Most High Divine Spirit for being here, for surrounding us with healing energy, and for guiding today's messages. By the grace of the Most High and the Holy Spirit, this space is filled with love, light, peace, and all energies that do not serve our highest good are transmuted into love, healing, and renewing energy. Now, let's step into this reading together. All right, now let me tell you, all right, toxic behavior patterns are not about labeling people as evil now. They are repeated behaviors. That's all they are. They can create like instability in your life. How you out here all in emotional confusion, manipulation can come out of it, chronic stress, and that dang on disrespect, which I can't stand. You know what I'm saying? But sometimes we can see them in others, and sometimes we can see them in ourselves. So this reading came out of me, guys, when I went in. I was praying on a situation between me and some loved ones that just took me down. And so, I had to go in to heal, because that's what we do. We participate in our own rescue. So here you're going to identify them toxic cycles and you're going to understand why they are formed. You're going to recognize where you played a big role in your part. And your boundaries going to strengthen up and you're going to break that pattern. So we're going to move forward and we're going to be healthier after we relate to this, okay? So take a slow breath because clarity is not cruelty, okay? It's protection. So let's begin. All right, so I've been shuffling out here. Let me go ahead and get a cut on the deck so we can get a lead card. All right, and I hope everyone is having a great day. Now, where you guys watching from? Let me know, okay? This spread is called Recognizing Toxic Behaviors, okay? And as you know, we're gonna get a lead card out there. This is about the pattern that keeps repeating itself. And jumping out the deck is the Six of Cups in reverse. Oh my goodness! Now in reverse, you're living in the past, okay? And that can create some toxic situations. Matter of fact, it created one for me. It's a pattern I can't stand. Truthfully, you know how you get those people in your life collective who are not living in the current day. and they'll currently bring up past events or past memories of hurt and pain just so they can recreate those events today. This is the kind of dynamic that may keep showing up for us. You know what I'm saying? And what this is telling me that the pattern could be subtle, but it's gonna drain you. You know what I'm saying? So you're gonna have to recognize that when it's coming out. Either if you're doing it or someone's doing it to you. Okay? You're gonna have to recognize that. And so what I do as a technique is like right now in the last three for similar experiences, look for some overlap because you may be missing something. You know what I'm saying? All you know is you feeling the emotion, but you got to pin down where it's coming from. Okay. All right. So the next card is um, in these draining situations that keep showing up, we want to know what's been the emotional payoff for you just bypassing it, not even saying nothing about it. So I know what mine has been, and this try to jump on my lap and it came out to Star. And as you see, I put some little clothes on her because you know Star is usually out here with no clothes on. However, mine that was keeping me in there, you know, the Star is about hope. You know, the Star is about prospects of the future. So you know, I might have stayed in my draining situation with hopes for the future that it was going to change. We all do that. You know what I'm saying? And this, what this card is telling me that it could have been validation about the hope or excitement, hoping for the future of something to change. You know what I'm saying? But you have to ask yourself, and one of my techniques is, what am I getting from this? Even if it hurts, you got to ask yourself, what are you getting from staying in draining situations or situations where people are always bringing up the past? You know what I'm saying? Especially hurtful past events. You know what I'm saying? Think about it. People keep you stuck in a loop of just, having you feeling guilty, talking about old stuff that you've already apologized for, using it to beat you over your head. You know what I'm saying? But you hopeful that if you keep explaining it away, or you keep apologizing and re-apologizing and re-apologizing, that it'll go away. You got to ask yourself, who's toxic in this situation? Who's toxic? The person who's keeping it up or the person who's enabling it? You know what I'm saying? Now, if these messages are resonating, let me just tell you, go ahead and like the video and put a rose emoji in the comments, to let me know that you're sharing and let me know that you're caring. Please like and share the video because that's going to get the videos out, okay? And I really appreciate you guys. Now, you got to ask yourself, okay, what's going on with me? Why do I keep looking for that? I'm going to tell you guys, I stayed in this situation with a family member just because I didn't want to lose connection to their child. You know what I'm saying? And I was getting disrespected left and right. I had never in my life been disrespected in ways. But for some reason, I kept letting it bypass. However, I learned that there was some early conditioning that might have started this. So we need to know where these patterns are beginning in our lives. So we're going to ask Spirit, where did this pattern come from? Where did that? I know where it came from. I got two out, so they're going back in. So, but we're going to ask. Oh, I thought I dropped one. I'll be getting nervous. Okay, Spirit, let's see here. Thank you, Spirit. Oh, Lord, y'all seen all that come out. I'm going back in. I cannot. I just want one question, and it's the early conditioner or where this pattern began. The Spirit said it began in temperance. Temperance? Okay. All right. So temperance made us begin this pattern, I guess. If you're even tempered and acting like something don't bother you. You know what I mean? If you're acting like it's no big deal, you know. However, with the temperance card, I'm just thinking that perhaps we should have been, you know, a little bit more moderate about our feelings in these toxic situations. You know what I mean? Uh, we should have been a little bit more stingy with our energy. You know, what this is telling me that, childhood inconsistencies or instabilities, if you're a child and you can't say nothing when somebody's doing you wrong or hurting you or bringing up memories that are, recreating your trauma, you just kind of learn to take it. You know what I'm saying? But it's time to break it. We got to heal from it, or we're just going to be on the same loop forever until we go to the dust, and that's not going to help. You know what I'm saying? Thank you, Spirit, for that card. So let me just tell you, one of the techniques I do, I try to identify one of the memories where this feeling felt familiar, like when I was little. You know what I'm saying? Because then you can kind of pinpoint and go back and do your inner child healing. Let your inner child know you safe, you validated, what you feeling is real. You know what I'm saying? However, you don't have to do anything as a child. You know what I'm saying? And what's happening to you is not your fault. You know what I'm saying? Now, the next thing I wanted to know as I was sitting meditating on this and healing from my situation is what kind of signs I kind of bypass. I told you that temperance make you bypass stuff. So what kind of red flags do you ignore, collective? So we're going to ask Spirit. Spirit, what kind of red flags are being ignored? Okay. And let me just kind of turn this a little bit. Okay. There we go. That might have been a big shift, like that last shift we just had, but it was a full moon, I think, recently. So, as you know, these readings are timeless. So when they find you, they are for you. Okay. So make sure if it ain't resonating, don't worry about it. Just let it go. But we want to know what red flags we're ignoring out here. And Spirit said we're ignoring a Knight of Pentacles in reverse. Okay. And so Knight of Pentacles in reverse is giving me uh being stagnant, not moving, just kind of sticking there, like the temperance, just acting like it doesn't matter. You know what I'm saying? It is being this way is red flag. What this is telling me, we minimize the behavior. You know, I know that's what I was doing. I'm the type who will minimize the behavior and let it just pile on up. And then one day I just blow, and then everybody's like, "Oh, you're crazy." That everybody want to diagnose you when you start speaking up for yourself. And so because they're not used to it, they're used to you just sitting there taking it like a punching bag. So who's toxic in the situation? You sitting there taking it like a punching bag, or the person who's doing it, or both? You got to ask yourself. However, good thing is, because you participate in your own rescue, you can do what you need to do to save yourself in any toxic situation. Okay. But here, one of the techniques that I would say, if you're trying to like figure out where the red flags are, write down the first discomfort you felt and honor it. A lot of times we never talk about what bothers us. You know, write it down, get it out, and honor that, and then let it go. Okay. All right. Now I told you we always asking the question, who's toxic. So my question came is, what am I doing? We all got that question. How are we playing a part in this? What's enabling? Or where are we enabling it? So we're gonna ask Spirit. Spirit, where are we in? Where's the collective enabling this? So how are we contributing to this toxic cycle, if any? Spirit says, Nine of Wands. I'm sorry, Nine of Swords in reverse. Okay, I'm thinking Wands, but Nine of Swords in reverse. Okay. Now, our contribution is we're trying to heal here at Oracle Rose Healing Tarot. That's why you're here. That's why I'm here. And this is evident. And Spirit says that is the truth. Because if you wasn't here and I wasn't here, first of all, if I wasn't trying to heal from it, there would be no tarot reading. And then if you were not trying to heal from it, you wouldn't have clicked on this video. And this video wouldn't have found you. So you are doing your contribution by trying to heal from this. And what this is telling me, that you might be passively doing it though. And it's time to actively do it. All right. It's time to actively pull out the toxic pattern. Get off that little wheel or that ride. It's broken anyway. It's broke down. The whole amusement park, toxic land is closed. Everything in there is broken. I'm just saying. So one of the techniques that I was able to think about was that I think about the boundaries that I avoid setting and why. Like, with my family members, why I avoid setting that boundary. It was fear, fear of not being able to be around the person that I really wanted to be. But the more I thought about it was that, hey, I'm not around them either way because the other person is not trying to help me stabilize the relationship. And every time I try to stabilize the relationship, I'm getting accused of being fugazi or putting up an act or whatever it is. Every time I try to expand and grow, they just keep pulling you back, keep pulling you back, you back. You know what I'm saying? So, anyway, I'm going to say here the next thing we need to know, and I wanted to know, some got to go. What must change? I got to praying. I said, Spirit, what must change? And so that's one of the questions here. What boundary we need to break? I already know which one it was, but I asked Spirit, and we're going to ask Spirit, what must change in this toxic pattern? And what came out was the Page of Wands in reverse. Okay. And a Page of Wands in reverse is just like, bad news. Okay. Just bad news all around. All right. There's none good coming out of Page of Wands. It's a page, you know. And what this is saying that there might be some fear of confrontation. But you know what? You're going to have to put the sword up. You're going to have to put the boundaries up so that you can ascend. Because if you don't cut off the toxic, it's just going to keep pulling you back. All right. So, who's toxic? Ask the question. The person that's keeping you or the person who's staying? All right. Now, I'm going to tell you one of the techniques is you got to practice that one direct sentence. This doesn't work for me. You got to be true to yourself. This doesn't work for me. When you talking to the other person, instead of engaging and getting entangled in the toxic, you got to let them know this doesn't work for me, and you got to bail out. Now, let me know if these messages are resonating. Please subscribe, guys, to the channel. Hit that like button for me. I'm so glad you're here, and I'm hoping that this is helping, because it helped me. And so anything that helped me, I'm sharing. Okay? Now, I wanted to know, I knew why, but I just wanted Spirit to confirm for me. So we know, and a lot of us already know, but we need to know. Spirit, what's keeping us stuck in this toxic pattern? Please, Spirit, what is keeping us stuck? And Spirit is saying what? Let's see if we can get out this deck. Oh, it jumped on the floor. Let me get it. Three of Pentacles. The Three of Pentacles? Okay, well, usually the Three of Pentacles is about being recognized, or being successful. It could have something to do with, you know, getting your money. And so maybe your career, your job. But what this is telling me is that it could be a fear of being alone, because I see like three people here, that's sharing, being together. I know mine was that, being alone away from family. I've raised my family empty nested early, you know what I mean? But you know what? I found out, hey, solitude is that place to be, especially when you're trying to heal. You know what I mean? Solitude is actually like amazing. It gives you room to connect with the divine, and gives you clarity. It gives you opportunity to meditate and focus on what you can change instead of ruminating on what you can't. You know what I'm saying? And so what this is telling me is that, it's fine, but I always got to say, how did I get here? I got to ask myself every time. Like a technique could be, is I ask myself, is this temporary, what I'm feeling? Or is the pattern permanent, like me feeling alone and all that? And you're going to find too that a lot of times it's just temporary. You know what I mean? So then you can move on to like a healthier alternative to being toxic, or being involved with people who are toxic, or people who keep trying to pull you into toxicity. You don't have to be there, you know. So we're gonna ask Spirit, what does it look like when we get secure without the toxic? You know, what it look like, Spirit? And I'm getting hot all of a sudden. Let's see. Oh, that's 2 months going back because I never take my. All right. And so Spirit says, wow, a 3 of Swords. Okay. So a healthy alternative may look like pain and sorrow or disappointment and heartbreak in the beginning. But as you heal, you're going to have to realize and find where it's at. You're going to have to find your consistency. You know what I'm saying? You're going to have to determine that being respected and being calm and having clarity, your blood pressure going down, being able to thrive is better than being in this. You're going to have to weigh it out. You're going to have to use your discernment. Do you want to live or do you want to, and I'm just saying live in whatever sense you want to take it. It's up to you. Or do you want to drown in toxicity or toxic events, places, people? It's up to you, collective. Thank you, Spirit, for this card. You know what I'm saying? I'm like saying, and let me just tell you how I got to this, how I got to this feeling here. I noticed that calm may feel boring compared to being in chaos, but it's healthier. It's healthier, no doubt. You can look at any medical, whatever you want to look at, and it's going to let you know that it's healthier to be calm. It helps your whole body heal, grow, you know? So just think about it. That will be the healthier alternative. But you're gonna like when you're feeling bad, you're gonna be like, can I trust this process? Yes, you're gonna have to rebuild trust in yourself first, because maybe that's part of the toxic cycle that brings up the toxic cycle when we go trusting other people to be, hoping that they're going to be who they pretend to be or who they say they're going to be. No, you're going to have to learn to trust yourself before you can trust anyone else. Collective, I'm just telling you, that's what I had to do, and that's what I'm learning to do every day. So I'm going to tell you, how do you stop second guessing yourself? We're going to ask Spirit, how do we stop second guessing ourselves, Spirit? How do we do that? The divine does not give anyone the spirit of doubt. That is not a divine energy. Okay? So put 2 of Swords in the upright. Okay? And what this says is that you're going to have to make choices. You're going to have to make a decision. You're going to have to make a decision. Okay? It's going to always be your choice when these toxic energies come up, or events, places, or people. You're going to have to say, this doesn't work for me. You're going to have to ask yourself that question. All right. And so, what this is telling me is that you're going to have to listen to your intuition too. You're going to have to learn how to listen to your intuition, because you, that's where I had to go to get this reading, guys. Inner me. You know what I'm saying? Inner me is what got me here to my healing place. I'm back. I couldn't even do readings because I was so down in the energy of what I was dealing with. I was hurting. I didn't look like myself when I looked in the mirror, but I'm back now. You know what I'm saying? And I also noticed how that energy sideswiped me, almost like, being on the road and somebody come out of nowhere and just kind of sideswipe you, because my intention wasn't never to be, toxic, but perhaps I was being, because I was enabling it. And I thought I had, you know, uh, spaces in other people's energy where I do not. Okay. Now, I'm gonna tell you, out of this, when you get there, there's gonna be a version of you that comes out of this that you're not gonna recognize, but you're gonna have to trust yourself and embrace it. So, and I had to ask myself, who are you? So we're gonna ask the same question. The version of the collective that comes out when the cycle is broken in this toxic pattern, spirit, what version? comes out? What version comes out of the collective? Who are we when the pattern ends? And Spirit said, Eight of Pentacles. And you know I like Pentacles. Okay? We're going to be mastering this healing. You know what I'm saying? We're going to be learning this. We're going to be skilled at it. We're gonna be able to recognize toxic patterns when they jump out. And we're gonna ask ourselves, is this for me? Is it mine? Or are we gonna be able to say, this doesn't work for me, and just move on? That's what we need to know. And what this is telling me is that we're gonna be able to stay steady. They'll keep them boundaries up and stay calm, because it's about staying calm and growing and thriving. You know, the family member I'm so in love with, I'm trying to be here long enough to meet their children. You know what I mean? It's part of legacy. Now, let me tell you, I got the intuitive Kipper-ish deck. I'm going to go ahead and get this one because y'all know we love us some intuitive Kev. If you don't know who he is, I'm telling you, he is. Look him up. He's here on YouTube. When I say his readings have me cackling, but hey, it also helps me too. All of this is helpful. So we're going to see some messages that come out. We're going to play Who's Toxic. Okay. So let's just see what the divine has to say about who's toxic. When somebody's not out there being a mature man in the reverse, huh? So somebody out there being immature, know they're a full grown man. You know, yeah, it's all good though. Awareness is key. You know what I'm saying? Don't ever let nobody let you step out of the best higher self version that you hold of yourself. You know what I'm saying? Always ask yourself, who's toxic? Is it me? Am I enabling this situation? Am I stunting my growth? Think about it. Maturity is there is absolute maturity everywhere. And so, oh, I got two out here. So having expectations. That was my issue, having expectations that somebody else was going to give me respect if I led with respect. So if people don't reciprocate respect, then you ask yourself, do you sit there and demand it, or do you move around? You detach, you move around. If they don't know how to give you equal give and take, then they can get no more of your respect. Move on. You know what I mean? And the other one that came out was the rich girl. I like her. You know what I'm saying? Perhaps you're getting around people, and this card is telling me that don't hold back on giving people their flowers. Don't try to diminish people's achievements. There's abundance out here, and just always remember that even if you come in contact with somebody who's on getting their bag and they're on their business, that has be inspired, be encouraged. Don't fall into toxic energy around people like that, because it doesn't matter. You don't know where people are in their spiritual journey. If that person may have had to go far to get their pinnacles. You know what I'm saying? And you just don't know their story. Love these cards. These drawings are amazing. When I say talent, 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 I got the extra deck too, but I haven't cracked it open. I'm waiting for Spirit to give me the inspiration. That's how these decks are. Spirit says divination. All right, and it came in an upright. All right, and that's what we're doing here. We're calling on Spirit. We're calling on the Holy Spirit to help us figure out some things to heal us and help us get some guidance and some messages on, what we can do. You know, consider it. You can never be toxic when you're trying to go to your higher self, the Most High Divine. Okay, and anybody who's doing that, don't ever come up. The divine will not be mocked. So make sure you're never going against somebody who's trying to stand in their north node. You can be as south node as you want, but karma is not cute. Okay, being an ice king. Okay, and this is just energy. It's energy, not gender. But having that ice king energy, you toxic. Stop playing with people. Be authentic. What you call for? You call for it. You expect people to be warm to you. You're going to have to give what you want to get. Okay? We're going to get one more card out, okay? Because I just love the deck. And like I said, intuitive Kev is somebody you want. And soulmates. Okay, we already know what happens when people start declaring people their soulmate, and that's not really it. You know who your soulmate is. Your soulmate is not knocking you between the washer and the dryer. Okay, your soulmate is not calling you anything other than what you were named at birth, or what you call yourself, or what you refer to. You know what I'm saying? And you know your soulmate is someone who loves you and encourages you and uplifts you. You know, it's all about what your best higher self. And that's no tea, no shade. Okay. Now I'm gonna tell you this. We're gonna take one final breath on this because toxic patterns are not random. They're not random. Nothing happens randomly. They repeat until they are recognized. They just like a rerun. Okay. You do not break them by blaming other people. You're just not going to break them that way. That's not how it goes. You break them by seeing clearly your part in them, honoring the discomfort, setting your boundaries. You got to tell people, hey, you got to say, slow down. You got to pause. All right. You break them by tolerating temporary loneliness. You might have to be alone, just so you can get your clarity. And then you also, by rebuilding your trust. Now, clarity may feel uncomfortable at first, but it creates peace. I promise you, a peace beyond understanding. And you deserve relationships that feel safe, steady, and respectful. You do. You are divine, collective. You are divine. All right, now, if this reading supported you, please like, share, and subscribe. We're trying to grow over here at Oracle Rose Healing Tarot. We want our community to be big, okay? And always remember, stay divine and keep walking in your light. Until next time, collective, be great.